In 1833, a Danish naturalist named Johann Reinhardt was examining a preserved specimen of a deep-sea fish brought up by fishermen off the coast of Greenland. The creature was grotesque, mauled teeth, and distended jaw, with a strange filament protruding from its head. But what caught Reinhardt's attention wasn't the fish itself. It was the small, fleshy appendages attached to its underside. He assumed they were parasites, some kind of deep-sea worm that had latched onto the fish before it died. He cataloged them as such and moved on. It would take another 130 years before scientists realized the truth. Those weren't parasites, they were male anglerfish. And what Reinhardt had discovered was one of the most disturbing reproductive strategies in the entire animal kingdom. This was an anglerfish. And the more we learn about how it survives, the more unsettling it becomes. See, when most people think of anglerfish, they picture the classic deep-sea monster, giant jaws, razor-sharp teeth, and a glowing lure dangling in front of its face like a biological fishing rod. But what they don't realize is that image is only half the story. That terrifying predator, that's the female. And she can grow up to 3 feet long, weighing several pounds, with a mouth so large she can swallow prey nearly her own size. The male, on the other hand, is tiny. Some species of male anglerfish are barely an inch long. That's smaller than your thumb. In fact, male anglerfish are so small and so different from females that when scientists first discovered them, they thought they were looking at an entirely different species. It wasn't until the 1920s that researchers began to piece together the horrifying truth. But the anglerfish, like many deep-sea animals, has a body designed to equalize that pressure. No swim bladder to collapse, no rigid bones to fracture, just soft tissue, gelatinous flesh, and an internal structure that bends rather than breaks. But here's what I find fascinating. How does a creature that lives in complete darkness on one of the most barren environments on Earth manage to find food, let alone a mate? Well, the answer is written into every inch of the anglerfish's bizarre anatomy. That glowing lure on the female's head, it's called an esca, and it's filled with bioluminescent bacteria. These bacteria produce light through a chemical reaction, and the anglerfish has evolved a symbiotic relationship with them. It provides them a safe place to live, and in return, they give it the only source of light in a lightless world. And that light is everything. In the deep ocean, food is scarce. Hunting wastes energy, so the anglerfish doesn't hunt. It waits. Hovering motionless in the water, it dangles that glowing lure in front of its mouth like bait. To smaller fish and crustaceans, that light looks like prey, like food, like something worth investigating. And when they get close enough, the anglerfish strikes with terrifying speed. The anglerfish's mouth is a nightmare. Its jaw can unhinge, stretching wide enough to engulf prey larger than itself. Its teeth, long, needle-sharp, and angled inward, ensure that once something enters, it's not coming back out. Some species have teeth so large they can't even close their mouths completely. The teeth just hang there, a permanent reminder of what happens if you get too close. But the truly disturbing part, the anglerfish's stomach is elastic. It can expand to hold prey twice the fish's own body mass. Imagine swallowing something the size of a car and then just floating there, digesting it over the course of weeks. That's the anglerfish's life. One massive meal can sustain it for months, because down here, you never know when the next opportunity will come. And when you live in an environment this hostile, this energy-starved, every adaptation has to be extreme. If the anglerfish's feeding strategy is disturbing, its reproduction is downright horrifying. Remember those parasites Reinhardt found back in 1833? The male anglerfish? Here's how it works. When a male anglerfish hatches, it has one purpose and one purpose only: find a female. But in the pitch-black abyss, where the ocean is vast and empty, and where anglerfish are scattered across miles of nothingness, finding a mate is nearly impossible. The odds are astronomical, so evolution came up with a solution, a grotesque nightmare fuel solution. The male anglerfish has highly developed eyes and an acute sense of smell. From the moment it's born, it starts searching, following chemical signals through the water, hoping to detect the scent of a female. And when it finally finds one, it doesn't court her. It doesn't compete with other males. It bites into her flesh and latches on, and then it stays there forever. Over the course of weeks, the male's body begins to fuse with the female's. His mouth merges with her skin. His bloodstream connects to hers, his internal organs, his eyes, his digestive system, everything but his reproductive organs begins to atrophy and disappear. He becomes nothing more than a living sperm bank, a fleshy appendage dangling from the female's body, completely dependent on her for survival. Some females have been found with multiple males attached to them. 3, 4, even 8 tiny, withered bodies hanging from their undersides like grotesque ornaments. And when the female is ready to reproduce, those males release sperm directly into her bloodstream, fertilizing her eggs without any further interaction. It's called sexual parasitism. And it's one of the most extreme examples of reproductive specialization in the animal kingdom. To understand why the anglerfish evolved this way, you have to understand the deep ocean. Step into the midnight zone, 3,000 to 13,000 feet below the surface, where sunlight has never penetrated and never will. The temperature hovers just above freezing. The water is still, silent, a void so empty that you could swim for miles without encountering another living thing. There are no plants here, no photosynthesis, no base of the food chain in the traditional sense. Everything that lives here depends on marine snow, that slow, constant rain of organic debris drifting down from the surface, dead plankton, feces, fragments of fish. It's not much, but it's all there is. In this world, finding food is hard, but finding a mate is nearly impossible. The ocean is too big. The population density is too low, and so species like the anglerfish had to evolve extreme strategies just to ensure their genes made it to the next generation. The female anglerfish can afford to be large. She needs size to produce eggs, to store energy, to survive long periods without food. But the male doesn't need any of that. He just needs to find a female and fertilize her eggs. So he stays small, efficient, a biological missile programmed for a single task. And once he completes that task, he doesn't die. He just stops being an independent organism. He becomes part of her, a living extension of her body. It's horrifying. But in the context of the deep ocean, it makes perfect sense. So here's the question everyone wants to know. With such a bizarre body plan, with such extreme adaptations, how effective is the anglerfish as a predator? Well, the answer is disturbingly effective. That bioluminescent lure isn't just a passive trap. The anglerfish can control it, moving it back and forth, pulsing the light in patterns that mimic the movements of small prey. It's a living fishing rod, and the anglerfish is a patient angler. When prey gets close, the anglerfish can strike in as little as 6 milliseconds. That's faster than a human can blink. The sudden expansion of its mouth creates a vacuum, sucking prey in along with a rush of water. And those teeth, angled inward like the bars of a cage, make escape impossible. But here's what makes it even stranger. Its entire body is optimized for stillness, for patience, for existing in a state of near hibernation until an opportunity presents itself. And in an environment where energy is the most valuable currency, where every calorie counts, this strategy is perfect. The anglerfish doesn't waste energy hunting, it doesn't waste energy swimming. It just exists, a living trap suspended in the void, waiting for something to make a fatal mistake. So if the anglerfish is so well adapted to the deep ocean, why don't we see more creatures using similar strategies? Well, the answer is both simple and complex. The anglerfish's lifestyle requires an environment so extreme, so energy-starved, that only the most specialized creatures can survive. And even among deep-sea fish, the anglerfish represents the far end of the spectrum. Most creatures can't afford to be this sedentary. Most creatures can't afford to fuse their bodies to a mate. The trade-offs are too extreme. But for the anglerfish, those trade-offs are worth it. Because in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean, where the rules of life are rewritten by pressure, cold, and darkness, survival isn't about being the fastest or the strongest. It's about being the most efficient, the most patient, the most willing to sacrifice everything for a single moment of opportunity. But here's what should make us think. We've only explored, a tiny fraction of the deep ocean. Less than 5% of the seafloor has been mapped in detail, and every time we send a submersible into the abyss, we discover something new. New species, new behaviors, new nightmares. The anglerfish was one of the first deep-sea creatures we ever studied. And yet, even after nearly 200 years of research, there's still so much we don't know. How do the males find females in the first place? What triggers the fusion process? How many species of anglerfish are still out there lurking in the depths undiscovered? The anglerfish is a reminder that the deep ocean isn't just another habitat. It's an alien world, a place where evolution has taken paths we can barely comprehend. And in that world, creatures exist that challenge our understanding of what life can be, what life can endure, and what life can become when pushed to the absolute limit. And that's the thing about the deep ocean. It's not just dark. It's a laboratory of extremes, a testing ground for the most bizarre, most disturbing, most fascinating adaptations life has ever produced. And creatures like the anglerfish exist not in spite of that darkness, but because of it. What are your thoughts on it? Leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.